Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Today's episode is going to be one of those that you be like, oh, did happen like that? I don't believe that. That is unreal. That is unreal. But again, I want to emphasize to you that all of the stories that I tell you are true. It's either something that I experienced or one of my partners or somebody that I know or have met in here have told me. And it's real. I don't sugarcoat anything. I keep it raw and gritty because I want you to understand that this is not the lifestyle that you want to live, period. If you think it is, listen to this show, or you know somebody that is playing games with the game, let them listen to some of the episodes that I do so they can get a real taste of this, so they'll understand you don't want to be here. You don't want to be a part of this lifestyle because it's gritty, it's grimy, it's unforgiving. You know what I'm saying? And it causes you to become a person of a depraved state of mind. Now, here's the thing. That's what this episode, this whole series of shows is going to be about. It's about this dope boy. He was a big dope boy, but he didn't become a dope boy because he was poor. He needed money. He wanted to do all of these things. He became a dope boy because he liked what selling drugs allowed him to do. Not the cars and the trips and all of that. He liked what it allowed him to do to people. The misuse of people, the mistreatment of people, the manipulation of people. He liked that. He got off on it. But I'm going to, before I get into the show that's going to emphasize and explain to you how he ended up in prison, I'm going to go back a little bit. Because I asked him, how did you end up like this? And he told me, he believes anyway that this is how, the story I'm about to tell you, is how he became a person that would want to sell drugs, not necessarily for the money, but because of the power over people that it gave him. So I want y'all to sit back and relax and enjoy this show, man, because this is insight that you're not going to get from any other podcaster. You feel me? From any other podcast. And I want to ask y'all to do something for me. All of you that listen to this episodes or any of my episodes, put it up on your social media. Share it on Facebook. Invite other people to listen. I want to try to double and triple up my numbers, okay? I want to reach more people. And help me do that, y'all. Help me do that. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. This show is about power, y'all. Dope boy I know named Jay, right? He told me his story about why he started selling drugs. It wasn't about the money. It was about the power that it gave him over people. The power to make them do anything at any time that he wanted them to do. But before we get to that, I'm going to tell you about his childhood. He had two parents, a loving home, stable home. Both of his parents worked. They made decent money. They provided for him in a way that you would want parents to provide. He was a pretty decent student in school. He made decent grades. He played sports. He was not one of those kids on the fringes that you always hear about that, wants to get people to like him. He had plenty friends. But he said he didn't get any excitement from that. He said, on the outside, people thought that he had it together and he was this and he was that. But on the inside, he knew that it was something else that he wanted. It was something else he wanted. And he said he would notice, when they would be at practice and he would hear the coach yelling at people. That excited him. He liked that authority over people. He liked that. But he didn't have any way to impose his authority on people. You know what I'm saying? He was a teenager and he wanted people to do what he told them to do, when he told them to do it, how he told them to do it. But at his young age, he wasn't able to do that. They didn't listen to him like that. They listened to him just like they would listen to anybody else, just as a friend. But he wanted more than that. He wanted to dominate and control people. He wanted to manipulate people, right? So this is what happened. One day, his parents, they had to work. third shift at their job. So they didn't want to leave him. He was old enough, but they didn't really want to leave him alone. So they had him stay at a babysitter. And this young girl was a couple of years older than him, but she had a boyfriend that used to come over because she babysitted him at night once a week. And her boyfriend, she would sneak over because her parents worked at the same plant that his parents did. So while they were all at work, the parents, she would be there with her boyfriend babysitting Jay. Now, again, Jay's 12 or 13 years old. He's not a child per se, but he's right at that age where I don't know if you want to leave him at home at night by himself. You understand? So she's 16, 17 years old. She's responsible. She can take care of her. She was the neighborhood babysitter. Everybody went to her. Everybody liked her. Everybody. Now, when she would invite her boyfriend over, you know how teenagers do. She snuck him in. And they would be on the couch kissing, and Jay would be, you know what I'm saying, sitting on the floor watching TV and doing all of those types of things. But he was listening to what they would be talking about and what they would be whispering and saying. And, you know, her boyfriend was trying to get her to do this and do that. You know what I mean? And she would always say, nah, we can't be doing that. He's over here, this, and that. But her boyfriend would pull out some weed. And he said, you want to smoke some weed? And she liked weed. She was like, yeah, let's wait till he goes to sleep. So whenever Jay would hear her say that, he would stretch out on the floor and act like he's going to sleep. And then they would both get up and go to her room upstairs. And he would wait a few minutes. He would wait until he could smell the weed coming through the air. Then he would sneak upstairs and he would be on the door listening. And he would hear them in there laughing and giggling. But here's one thing that he really remembers. He remembers her boyfriend saying, take off your clothes. If you want to hit it, take off your clothes. And she'll say, all of my clothes? And he was like, yeah. And she would comply as best as Jay knew because he was on the other side of the door. And then she was like, let me hit it. I took off all my clothes. So he could hear her hitting the joint. And then he would say, take off everything else. And she would do it. And he would tell her to lay back on the bed. She would do it. He would tell her to play with herself. She would do it. And now all of these things are going on, and he's letting her smoke. So Jay is out on the other side of the door. He's getting excited, not at what she's doing, but what he's telling her. That control over her. He told me, he said, Joe, the control that he had over her was because of that weed. She liked that weed. And he said that's when he realized that if I get some weed, I can do the same thing to women. I got to have what they want to get what I want. So that is what catapulted him into the dope game. Something as simple as that. Now, a lot of us think that it's because of the money. He made money, but that's not why he got in it. He wanted to control people. He wanted to manipulate people. And he watched over time how his babysitter became obsessed with her boyfriend. She wasn't a bad-looking person, he said. He said she never did any hard drugs, but it was that weed. She complied with whatever he wanted her to do because of the weed. He didn't see that she may have loved him. He saw, give her this, she'll do this. Because that's what his experience was from them. So one day, he was fortunate enough, as he puts it, to be at her house, and he had his own weed. And her boyfriend couldn't come over. And they had been arguing on the phone or whatever. He didn't want to come over, so she told him, don't come over no more. So guess what? Here's Jay. And he tries to talk to her, but she really brushes him off because he's a kid to her. He ain't got nothing going. But that fell right into his hands. So after a few minutes of trying to, get her to listen to him or whatever the case may be, he did it. He said, look, you want to smoke some weed? Oh, she lit up like a Christmas tree at that point. She was like, you got some weed? And he was like, yeah, I got some weed. You want to smoke some? And she was like, yeah, let me see it. He was like, nah, let's go to your room. So she looked at him, he said. She gave him that look. Like, you a little boy. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't even pay any attention to that. He stood up and started walking towards her bedroom. So she got up and walked behind him. He didn't have to say a word. Like a little puppy, as he puts it, not me. She followed behind him to the room. And when he opened the door and walked into the room, he left the door open and she walked right in behind him. And then she turned around and shut the door. Now, mind you, they're in the house by themselves because his parents and her parents are at work. So they're going to be there for hours by themselves. Okay? So when they're in the room, he said, we're going to play a little game. And she said, play a little game. She said, little boy, I don't play games. And he said, for this weed, you're going to do what I want you to do. So he took the weed out and he started rolling up a joint. So she started to look at him and said, what do you want me to do? And he said, take off your clothes. Like when your boyfriend tell you to take off your clothes. So she looks at him because it's like, how would he know that? She's not thinking that he was on the other side of that door. He's been listening to everything. He knows exactly what she's into, and he knows exactly how to get her to do it. This weed. He said, if you want to smoke this weed, you're going to have to do the same thing with me that you do with your boyfriend. So she stood there for a second, and she looked at him, and she thought about it. And he said, before you knew it, she started taking off her clothes. And he said she was going so fast, he told her to stop, slow down. And he told her to slow down. I said, why'd you tell her to slow down, Jay? She's doing what you wanted. He said, because I wanted her to take the clothes off the way I wanted her to take the clothes off, not the way she wanted to take them off. So at that age, every detail about a relationship with him, it was forming in his head. He wanted to control every aspect of a relationship with whomever he would end up with. He didn't want her to go at her pace. He wanted her to go at his pace. So he told her to slow down, take your clothes off. She took her clothes off. When she took her clothes off, he told her to get on the bed and take her panties and her bra. She did it. Now, she's 16, he's 13. She's 16, he's 13. He's excited not because she's laying in front of him naked. He's excited because she did what he wanted her to do. His mind is already gone. And that's what I want to touch on, because when you get involved in the dope game or any other illegal criminal activity, right, you got to be mindful of what it's going to do to your mind. You know, at his age, he was already forming a bad foundation because he had figured out all of the things that he was doing as a teenager were not making him feel good. Nobody peeped that. Nobody peeped that. And by chance, at his babysitter, he overhears his babysitter and her boyfriend engaging in whatever activities they were engaging in. But he liked the way her boyfriend talked to her. That excited him. So now he was replicating that behavior. He imitated this guy to the T. Total domination and control. And how was he able to do it? Because of the weed. That's what he told me. He said, I had that bag. I had that bag, so she did what I wanted her to do. And that was his first sexual encounter. After that, whenever her boyfriend didn't come over, she would make sure that he had weed for her. And she would do anything he wanted. This went on for a couple of years. He didn't even need to be over there to getting babysitted. He could just go over there to her house. And the parents didn't trip about it because she's been his babysitter, and now they thought this is puppy love and whatever the case may be. They had no idea. They had no idea what was going on. They had no idea that he was using her to become this monster. Listen to what I'm saying. He was becoming this monster in the game. Because now, with his friends at school, he has started selling weed. And when you're in those circles, you meet a lot of people. So he started to meet people that were outside his friend circle, people that were really in the game. And this blew him away. He was so fascinated with them because they were hustlers. They were manipulators to the nth degree in the streets. And he sucked up game from them. He learned everything he could. They did what he wanted to do times 10, times 100. So he became fascinated with them, and he paid attention to everything they said, how they talked to the women, how they treated the friends around him, all of that. And he started to do this to his friends, and he saw how easily they fell in line. Why? Because he had that bag. Because he had that bag. So now years go by, he graduates from high school, he's got some money put up. He don't want to go to college. He don't want to go to college. He wants to chill for a while. So his father tells him to get a job, and then you can figure out what you want to do. He does that, but it's a side hustle. Y'all know how this go when you got that bag. It's a side hustle. He does that to satisfy Pops. But he don't need that. He got money. They don't know it. Now this is when it gets grimy, because when he gets 19 or 20, he's locked into the game. He's not only selling weed, he's selling cocaine. Now he's locked in. The rumors around the town are spreading. His father and his mother hear that he's out there selling drugs and all this and that. They talk to him. He's disrespectful now. He moves out. He's on his own. But he got that bag and he got bread. So he's not tripping. He's not tripping at all. Now one of his friends named, who was it? What did he say? Let me look at my paper, y'all. I got to look at my notes over here. Leroy. One of his friends named Leroy comes to him. And Leroy tells him, look here, man, put me on. He wants in. So you know what's going on. Let me tell you what's going on. Leroy's got a dime piece, y'all. I'm talking about a dime piece. And Jay wants her. Jay wants her. So look here, let me show you how bold and depraved his mind is. How he thinks, how he gets down. He tells Leroy, look here, man, I'm going to put you on, but I need something from you. Because at this point, he's so far gone, he don't care if he has a friendship with Leroy or not. It's on Leroy. But the relationship is going to be based on his terms and not Leroy's. He said, look, he said, man, let me get your girl, man. Let me get your girl. So Leroy tell him, man, you tripping, man. We ain't finna do none of that. You know what I'm saying? I'll find somebody else to buy it from. He said, go ahead then. That's what you do, go ahead. Find you somebody else to deal with. But you can't deal with me. So Leroy tries. He goes to holler at some people, you know what I'm saying, that he's seen Jay hang around. But Jay done already told him, man, don't deal with dude. Dude can't be trusted. And that's the last thing you want people in the streets to think about you, that you can't be trusted. They're not going to deal with you. They're not going to deal with you. And he's lucky that they didn't hurt him when he came around. But Jay was boxing him in, making sure that if he dealt with anybody, it was going to be him and him alone and on his terms. But here's the thing. When Leroy doubles back and comes to Jay, he said, look, man, I can't do it like that. I can't do it like that, man. I love her. I can't let you have sex with my gal, man. I'm not doing that. But I'm just trying to get on. I thought you messed with me. Now check out the game, right? Here go Jay. Look here, man. I mess with you. And to show you that I mess with you, he said, man, look here. I'm going to front you this. He gave him an 8-ball, right? Tell him, go do you. And then you come back and holler at me. And then we'll see what's up. I want to see if you can take care of business. He said, no, I'm going to pay for it now. Jay tell him, no, go ahead and get your bread. Because you need to see if you can really do this or not. So Leroy get down, come right back. Then a couple hours, he got that bread. He said, man, this is fast money. This and that. Now, Jay knows what he's doing, right? Because he been schooled by the best in the street. He been schooled. Got to get him first. Hook him. And that's what he's doing. He's hooking Leroy. He's hooking him. And look here, y'all. I'm doing the same thing Jay did. I'm trying to hook y'all. Y'all going to need to come back to the next episode and hear how Jay continued to hook Leroy and pull him on into the game so he could get what he wanted, right? Don't get mad at me, y'all. Don't get mad at me. Ain't number love. But again, before I go, I want to ask you again, please share these episodes that you listen to. Share these episodes on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever you do. You know what I'm saying? Share them and encourage people to listen to them. And I'm trying to double and triple up my numbers, right? I really appreciate all the support that you've been giving me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not sure if I have the right to even ask you to do this, but I'm asking y'all. Please share these episodes and encourage your friends to listen to them, right? I appreciate y'all. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.